Hello and welcome to the handover and demonstrational video on this Burstner Nexxo T660. It's a 2011 model. So I'll run around the outside and then we'll move on to the controls on the inside. So first things first, the bonnet release catch on these is just on the side of the dash here. Just open it up. Okay, so opening the door, the bonnet release catch is just here. There is a tyre pressure indication here, but it's always worth referring to the tyres themselves as well. But that's what that panel is there on that pillar. This model, for the blackout blinds on the side windscreens, has got these canvas concertina blinds, which are just here. So they fit with a press stud, as you can see there, onto these corresponding press studs here. So that's how you black out the cab blinds. Okay, so that's one of these fitted. It's got press studs here and then magnetic tabs which attach to the metalwork on the inside of the door. So that's how they fit. The larger one, which I've just unpacked there, goes onto the press studs, which you can see on that pillar there, and also this pillar here. So that's the larger one, and then you've got a third one which obviously fits onto the driver's side in exactly the same way as this one. Okay, so with the bonnet catch open, underneath the bonnet you've got the bonnet release, the bonnet catch stay to keep the bonnet up there, chassis plate. There's another chassis plate as well which I'll draw your attention to. You've got washer fluid, brake fluid, coolant, oil fill, dipstick. If you ever need to jump start this vehicle, the earth or the black cable goes onto here, and then the positive terminal is this one here. So your red cable on there, your black cable onto here. Okay, so moving on around the motorhome, we've got a chassis plate here from Burstner, showing the actual weight that it's registered at. The chassis plate in under the cab shows a different weight, but that's how it's been registered. We'll move on to the inside when we've finished doing the outside things. You've got vents for the fridge here. So what it does, it draws cool air in at the bottom, expels warm air at the top. They need to be kept clear and free of debris, just to ensure that the fridge can ventilate properly. You can buy weather covers for these, so it basically covers over the vented area. It's really only for very, very harsh winter conditions, and it stops a breeze blowing into the motorhome. This is a vent for the boiler, so that's where the boiler vents off if it's being run on gas. That's where the gas combustion exhaust vents. This is an external gas outlet, so if you had, let's say, a Carado or other similar outdoor barbecue hardware, then that's where you plug into a supply from the mains gas supply, which we'll come to in a second. So the bottles are stored around the other side of the motorhome, and this basically is plumbed into that gas supply. You will need a little adapter for this, but they're a very common thing. We actually probably have some in our spares department. It pushes into there, and this collar then flips down to that there, and then to release that little bayonet fitting, you push that collar back and it releases the metal fitting. It's just like a piece of copper tube that's about that long that pushes into there, and then you put a piece of flexible hose on the other end of that copper fitting, and that goes off to your gas appliance. You switch on and off this gas supply with this tap here. It's lockable, and the key for that is that one that looks like that. So that's how it's lockable. This is a locker that's underneath the bed, so this is just access to your storage underneath the bed. One important thing of note under here is, and it is very important, is this is where the boiler is drained down. So you can see this is where the boiler is located. So two things that need to be done to drain this water out of the boiler. It is important in cold weather that all the water is drained out of this boiler. If water's left in here and it freezes, it's a vessel of water that the water will expand as it turns to ice and crack the boiler, which is an expensive repair. and also the associated pipe works that you can see here, they all have water in them, so they all need draining down. So to do that, this lever here, that's now in the open position. So if you flip that down, that's closed, so that's the operational position that will hold all the water. If you're wondering why water's dripping out of the underneath of the motorhome, it's probably because this is in the open position, which is vertical. So in the horizontal position, either way, that is closed and in the operational position. It also has a thermostatic valve, which is this black box here with this diamond shaped tab on top. That is in the open position, that is closed, and will retain all the water inside the motorhome. It also has a little blue button, which you probably can't see on the video, but it's just there where my thumb is. That needs pressing in as well. Okay, so that's in the operational and closed position on both tabs. This is thermostatic. It will drop the water out of the boiler if it senses that the temperature has reached 6 degrees or the battery has become discharged to a degree where it can no longer sense the temperature. So if you come to the motorhome and this is in that position, then it's probably because the temperature's dropped or the battery is flat. To close this, again, it's the diamond shaped tab on top and the blue button just there. It won't automatically close if the boiler is switched on for obvious reasons. So if the boiler's switched on, it will never go to its fail-safe temperature sensing mode, because the boiler sends an electronic signal to that to tell it not to close. So that is in the operational position. I'm going to leave those open just for safety if it freezes this evening. So that's where the boiler drain is housed. We have a toolkit here. There's also a winder for the awning. So there's a separate video on our YouTube channel on how to operate the awning. Basically, this winder is a telescopic one. You unscrew this and it goes into the winder on the side of the awning there, but there is a separate video on how to operate awnings. I'll try and include that in the description of this video. So we've got carpets here. Other stuff that was in the garage, we have mud mats, so they're just grip. You put those underneath the wheel, the drive wheels if you're in a poor traction zone. Leveling blocks, so you just drive up one wheel onto it's like a triangular shaped chock, and there's some snow mats, snow, well, the textile snow chains. I've never actually seen those before, but they were in there, so I'll leave them in. We've got the instruction manuals for the motorhome in this pack here. There's a thermal blind for the windscreen, which goes on the outside. I think that must go on the outside, and there's a warning triangle there as well. So they were just things that were in the underneath the bed, which I'll leave in. Okay, so this motorhome has been fitted with a reversing camera. That's the camera. The lens, the monitor is on. So that's the lens. The monitor is on the dashboard. The bike rack fitted on this model. You just pull this down like so. The bike wheels go into here. Those straps go over the wheels. These fit onto the crossbar of the motorhome, and they fix the bikes in position. So it's a simple loading of the bikes. These have got little ratchets on them, so you push that in and push that way, push the strap that way. So that's what goes over the wheels on the bikes. Okay, round the other side of the motorhome then, we've got the water fill. This is just uses the key, the main Burstner key, this one here. So you put that into there, unlock it, open it up, put a hose into there until you get water pouring out of this infill here, and then you know that that's full. Next to that we have the gas locker, so it'll take 2 gas bottles. So they're fitted in with the retaining straps, as you can see. So one goes in there, one goes in here. This is the pressure regulator. Now it will require a hose, a flexible hose called a pigtail that fastens onto there, and it's a flexible hose that then goes onto the bottles themselves, and then the bottles are switched on the tap on top of the bottles. So I'll see if I can get you one of those to go with it. So I'll make sure there's one in for when you pick it up. Next to that, now this is an aerial feed. I think this customer must have had an external aerial. There's actually an aerial in the motorhome, so I think he must have plugged his aerial in here, had an external aerial that he put on the floor, and then that's an aerial feed, so that's an aerial signal into the motorhome. This is where the main supply goes into the motorhome. Okay, so you lift that up. It does require a cable, there's no cable with it. So that lifts up like so, the lid slides in like that, and then that gives you your feed into the motorhome. To release it, you press that lever down, and then it'll allow you to pull the mains cable out. So that's where your main supply goes into the motorhome. The next one along is your toilet cassette. So that's where the toilet waste ends up, in a cassette inside here. So to get access to that, push both buttons in together like so. That gives you access to the cassette toilet, which in theory then will be full of toilet waste. To get that out, you push that lever up there and slide this cassette out. Okay, so once you've got the cassette out, this would then be in theory full of toilet waste. To empty it, you slide this, to empty it, push that funnel that way, unscrew the cap off the end and turn it upside down and pour the waste away. As you're doing so, press this button in, it lets air in as the waste is pouring out of that side. It just stops it glugging and splashing, so you can sort of hear it sucking air in as the liquid is going out. Once you've done that, then slide this cover back. Okay, slide the cover back and then open up the cassette. You can then you should really then fill it full of fresh water again, swill it around and then empty it again. Once you've done that, then you can put the chemical into here that's required to break all the smells and solids down. So you just put a little bit of chemical in the bottom with a little bit of water, slush it around again, and then it's ready to use again. Before you put it back in, make sure that that is straight and the valve is closed. Push that back on and it's ready to use again. As you can see, this has got wheels on the bottom to aid carrying it over to the waste disposal point, like you can see, and an extendable handle. The extendable handle clicks back into position under those little tabs, like so, and then it's ready to be put back in its housing again. To do that, you just put the wheels on the runner there, slide this back into position. You can see that little release slots back in. Just underneath that, we've got the waste water outlet. So there's an indication on the control panel inside to show you how full that is. And to empty that, it's that handle just there. Okay, so as it's pointing up, that's closed. Pointing horizontally, it's open. So we'll move on to the inside now, and I'll show you the controls in there. Okay, so first things first, we have the slide across on the habitation door. We've got the slide across fly screen door that just slides across, so that gives you a fly screen if this door is open. Above that, we've got the control panel. This is give you an indication as to your engine battery. So that's your engine battery, and you can see the needles moving over. And then we've got the habitation battery or your leisure battery. They're the indications. If one of those becomes low, the alarm will sound just here. It doesn't sound, sorry, it just flashes to tell you that either the waste is full or one of the batteries is becoming low. To switch the control panel on or off, it's that button there, so that switches everything on. These are your water levels. So the top one is your fresh water tank, so that's empty, and then the lower one is your wastewater tank. There was a little bit in there, but that'll just be from when they were testing it. This light will illuminate when you've got a main supply coming into the motorhome. This button here is for your pump. So basically what that's doing is pumping the water from your fresh water tank through all the associated pipe works to the back of the motorhome where the boiler is, just housed underneath there, filling up the boiler, and then eventually it'll come out of your tap. So what you need to do is fill up your tank full of water, switch on your pump, come to your tap, open that up on hot. So it's a single lever mixer tap, just open that up onto hot until you get a pure flow of water coming out of here. Then you know all the air has been pushed out of the pipe work, out of the boiler, and then you're just getting your pure flow of water coming out of your taps. Do the same on the cold side as well. and then you know that again all the water has been purged through the system, and then you've got just water in the pipes. So as I said about draining down the boiler, which is at the back of the motorhome, it's also just as important to do so with the freshwater tank. The freshwater tank, which I showed you how to fill on the outside just with a hose, is located underneath this seat. That's good because it means it's inside the motorhome, and obviously we'll receive heat from the vehicle when the heating is on, and I'll show you how to gain access to that now. Okay, so with the cushions removed, you've got the tank here. You can see how the fresh water is filled via that hose which I showed you on the outside. You've got access into the tank just by opening this up. Okay, it really only is there to put, if you want to put sanitizing liquid or the powder that you can get to sanitize this tank, then that's how you gain access to it. Also, if any work was required to replace the reader that reads the water levels, etc. To drain this down, it's this tap here. So it's clockwise, just to be finger tight. Clockwise is closed, so that will retain all the water within the tank when you're filling it. If you start filling the tank here and you see water pouring onto the floor, it's because this isn't closed. So to open it, it's anti-clockwise, just finger tight until it's all the way, and then you know that then is the valve is open. Okay, so that's how to drain the fresh water down. Whenever you're draining this down, there's three things you need to remember. Drain your fresh water down, open up your taps and leave them open in the warm position, so both hot and cold are open, so that lets air in to the pipework as water's draining out from the tank. You've got your boiler, which is underneath the bed at the back there, and you've got the wastewater, which I showed you on the outside of the motorhome. So 1, 2, the boiler, and 3, the water tank outside, and 4, open up all the taps. So that means this one, the shower, and the sink in the bathroom. So 4 things to remember: fresh, boiler, wastewater, taps. Okay, so that's all the cushions replaced. This table, you can remove it, and to do so you lift it up until that red tab lifts up. Can you see that moving? And then you can lift it off its rails. So if you want to remove the table, it's important to lift it before you pull it off the rails. As you can see, this has got a collapsible leg, so that just, you turn that and that leg will come off. It's got a leaf on it where you can adjust that round by pulling this knob down here. Okay, so that's how the bed operates. Sorry, that's how the table operates. So this motorhome's got captain's chairs, so to turn those around you just pull this lever here, and then that'll allow you to spin the seat around. There is probably a bit of adjustment to go forward and back to get it to go past the door pillar and the steering wheel, so you need to sort of go forward and then back again to get the seats to go around. You've got the camera monitor there, which has been tested and all operational. So working on towards the rest of the controls, then we've got light switches here just next to the door, and we've got a fridge freezer here. Okay, so this is a 3-way fridge, so it will run on gas, 12 volt and mains. So let's just switch this on. So as you can see, it's automatically selecting gas. It won't light because there's no gas. In a minute we'll get a fault code to say that it's not lit because there's no gas. So you can press this mode button here and select which fuel you want, basically. So you've got mains, 12 volt, gas, or automatic selection. So automatic, we'll try and find the most relevant power source. So it'll try and find electric first, then gas, then 12 volt. 12 volt will only work when the engine is running. Okay, so it really only keeps it cold once you've got it cold on gas or electric first. To switch this on and off, it's a long press on this button here. You've got a temperature control here. The reason for that is if you want to, you want the fridge to be working harder in really cold weather. So on a day like today where it's not that hot, then don't have the fridge working overtime, because it'll ice up, you'll get all this icing up. So that's the reason for the temperature control. You can really only judge that, you know, once it's reached its temperature and you feel that it's getting too cold or too hot. Okay, so a long press to switch it off. Don't leave the fridge fully closed when you're not using it. The reason is that you've got these magnetic strips. You'll get stagnant air building up in here and it'll start to smell. There's a little catch here that if you just pull that forward, the catch here clips onto those to keep the door slightly ajar. So that's what they are. That's what they're there for. And it keeps the fridge, it just lets the fridge breathe basically. Okay, so you've got your oven. This is an oven and grill. Yeah, so oven and grill. So you've got that way for your grill. Obviously you can see that's igniting there, and then this way for your oven. Okay, so it says 6 on there. It's not gas mark 6. There's no way of really reading that temperature, but 6 being the hottest setting. Okay, so we've got access to the bed here. Now this bed should actually lift, but the customer has asked us to leave this leg on here, which prevents the bed from lifting. So you've only got the access from outside. This has got recliners on it, so the way to operate those is the mattress flips forward. This is like a ratchet system, so all the way down, if you just bring it halfway up, it'll stay in position like that. To get it to go flat again, you bring it all the way up and it'll go flat. Okay, so now we're onto the heating controls. So these dials here are directly connected to the boiler, which is underneath us. Okay, so we've got 2 dials. This one is Combi E, so that's electric. So basically, they're both laid out in the same format, but the electric one we'll deal with first. So in the upper positions, it's just dealing with hot water. So let's count those as summer settings. You don't want the heating on, but you may want hot water to wash up with. That's 40 degrees on electric, that's 60 degrees on electric. In the middle position on this dial, it will just operate on gas. The lower one is heating and hot water on 40, heating and hot water on 60 degrees. Okay. The next one along is gas, so exactly the same. You've got 40 degrees on gas, hot water, 60 degrees hot water on gas, off, heating only, heating and hot water on 60 degrees. The thermostat for the heating is this here, so you just turn this around. When that amber light is showing, it means it's heating but not hot yet. This will not work at the moment because we're not plugged into mains electric and there's no gas connected. So both systems off, that's in the middle, that's in the middle. So that's your electric and that's your gas. Hob controls are just on the front of the hob. Sink is straightforward. So your toilet controls, we are just waiting for a part for this to come, but it's going to be here in time, so I'm told. To flush, to use this toilet, basically you lift the lid up and then there's a lever that's connected onto this here. That slides and opens and closes the blade inside here, and that's the flush. So that flushes the toilet. So basically you lift the lid up, slide this bar across to open up the valve, use the toilet, press the flush button, and that's how to operate this toilet. There's an indication here to tell you how full that cassette is, but in all honesty you can actually see down there, particularly if you use the blue fluid, you can actually see how full that's becoming. So obviously you've got foldable doors to protect the toilet on this side, so they come across like so, and there's a magnetic strip there that they connect onto, and this side comes across and connects onto a magnetic strip here, so that protects this area from water when you're showering. Again, in order to drain all the water out, you need to open this tap and that tap in order to let air into these as the liquid is being poured out onto the floor for draining down for winter. This does have a retaining thing that goes into there. For transit, I personally would leave that on the floor, because if that falls out and drops onto the plastic shower tray, it could crack the tray. So that's how I would use it. I would leave that just on the floor. To further protect the shower tray, there's this wooden duct board here, so we've just taken that out because the valeters haven't been in this motorhome yet, so they're still to go in and do their work. Underneath this side seat here is where the battery's housed, and also there's a puncture repair kit just in there as well. Okay, so that completes the handover video. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have in the interim between now and picking it up. Equally, on the day, if you've got any questions, I'm happy to answer those as well. So we look forward to seeing you on the day that you collect your new motorhome.